Welcome back to the UP Home Buyer Summit. So this is our very last session. This is our long-awaited home buyers question and answer panel. We've got a panel of 3 top real estate experts ready to answer any of your questions about buying or selling a home in the UP, finance, anything. So my name is Ona Martin. I'm your host. We're live streaming here on Live the UP, and this is meant to be an interactive event. And I know it is super, super sunny outside. So if you you have questions after the fact, if you're seeing this post after the fact, then I'll leave the contact information for all the panelists in the comments below before we sign off here, and you can always reach out to one of them individually. They are all a wealth of information on UP real estate, as well as we had a couple guests who couldn't make it to this panel, Frida Wara and Ryan Lemire. I'll leave their information there as well. And you will also want to check out our other sessions. They're still up here on the Live the UP page. I'll leave those up, and do take the time to watch, because there's so many good tips that we've heard throughout this day that can help you, whether you are a first-time home buyer or a veteran home buyer or seller. You're going to pick up some things that you maybe never thought of. Okay, so right now we've got Stephanie Jones, who is a licensed realtor and with Select Realty, and she's got all sorts of background in that, a definite expert here, and she is the only real estate educator in the UP. So welcome, Stephanie. Rich Beasley is our event sponsor with UP Home Inspection LLC, and he is a certified home inspector through INTERNACHI, International Association of Certified Home Inspectors, and he's here with his expertise. And then we have Anthony Zorza, who unfortunately his video is not working, but he's alive and well and with us here. And Anthony is a senior mortgage loan officer with Embers Credit Union, and extremely well versed in that topic as well. So welcome, Anthony. Welcome all of you. And I do have a few questions to start out with that were emailed to me earlier. Let me find them. But also, if you guys have, I know that there are always the questions that we hear over and over again if we're in business, and I suspect we may be addressing some of those too. So first question here is, my biggest homeowner question right now is how you go about securing financing for a first-time home if your credit isn't great. I know a certain bank around here has FDA mortgages, but are there options if you're not eligible for those? Are there safe non-local options, pros and cons of using them? And they say the bankruptcy they filed will have been discharged for 2 years at the end of July. Until then, I feel like we're stuck. So Tony, I suspect this might be a great question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's nice at Embers is we have in-house products that we keep on our in-house book. So we don't use like a conventional Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. So we kind of look at the credit report and see why their credit score might be lower. You know, we'll take in considerations if they had a large life item happen that might have caused that, a divorce or a death, or they might have got sick or something. So we look at if medical collections are bringing down their credit score, or might have been bankruptcy and such. We'll take that in consideration, and we can make it work. You know, if the numbers work, if the income's there and such, we'll take a look at that, and we'll put them in a in-home product. So there is the ability to secure a home financing.
And you know what? Tony's saying this, and that's exactly what we tell people. But a lot of times we have buyers that will call us, and because they have bad credit, they're afraid to go to the bank. And so they think they should get a land contract. What they don't understand is that a land contract, it's actually the owner that's giving you a mortgage. They will often pull a credit report. It requires a much higher amount down than a 3% program. And any seller that already has an existing mortgage on their home cannot give a land contract. So I think people have this sort of, I have poor credit, I have to get a land contract. No, you have poor credit, you have to go talk to your lender. And if you're not ready now, they're going to tell you what you need to get ready in the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, absolutely. What we usually do too is we have, they call it a balloon loan, but we'll lock the rate for 5 years, and then that gives that person that time to get their credit fixed so that we can refinance it and put them into a conventional product too. So
Nice. I have another question here. I think this one's good for Stephanie, but either of you is welcome to pitch in here. Another question: are you buying a house? Realtors, do you have to work with one? Is one. First, he's got 3 questions here about realtors. 1, do you have to work with a realtor?
You don't have to, but you can have someone represent you and give you all of our technical expertise, and the commission gets paid by the seller. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want to hire an agent to work for you. So that's question 1.
All right, and I would like to pitch in terms of the home sellers, because I helped my dad, because he really didn't want to work with a realtor. I was like, fine. I helped him sell a house a couple summers ago. Man, it was like constant, because his house was in Munising, and it was like right on the bay, and we kept getting all these calls out. I mean, it was crazy, but it was like so much work. It was so much work. And I just wanted to say, I mean, if you're considering selling your house, it's like, oh my God, you know, yeah, we made a little bit more. I think if you took in terms of how much work it went into it, and I've kind of been on the transacting end of, it's quite a few homes, so I sort of knew what the process was, but it was still like, you know, a lot of things that I didn't kind of think about, and just the whole running up and down and showing it. I think real estate agents totally earn totally more, and then some earn what they.
And I think oftentimes we don't tell everything that we do. So they just think we drive nice cars and show homes. And that's just such a small part. We're coordinating an orchestra that happens during the home sale process.
Absolutely, absolutely. It just makes it a really smooth, and you know, and then when it came down to the nitty gritty of, you know, the little what the buyer wanted and this and that, it would have been really nice to have somebody to facilitate that rather than us having to be like, oh no, I don't know.
Even the documentation requirements. There is a really great scam that happens with scam artists and unrepresented sellers. An unrepresented seller, just like an agent, has to provide, any seller, unless it is an estate or a foreclosure, has to provide a fully completed seller's disclosure statement. And if you don't provide that, the buyer can walk away up to the moment of closing. So the scam that was going on in different parts of the country is sophisticated scam artists were getting into a contract with an unrepresented seller and not asking about the seller's disclosure statement until they get to the closing table. And they said, yep, we're going to walk because we don't have a seller's disclosure statement unless you lower the price by 10, 15, 20,000. And at that point, oftentimes the sellers were in so deep, they kind of had to sell. So that seller's disclosure statement is fantastic information. It's a great It's a great way to promote all the good things about your home as well.
Wow, yeah, never thought of it that way, but
It is absolutely no, it does not take the place of an accurate inspection. It's just a disclosure.
right. Yeah, let's get back to that topic. We do have a question coming in here from Facebook from Eric. Eric Hager, how does being a retired senior affect borrowing?
Well, I think Tony will agree. You can be 90 years old and still get a 30-year mortgage. So it doesn't.
Yep, we don't think. It doesn't. Actually, I like the retired type of customers or members because the paperwork's a lot easier usually.
No verification of employment.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So like you were talking about the difference between a disclosure and why you would want a home inspection, even though there's a disclosure there. Maybe some points as to, I don't know, Rich, if you want to talk to that.
Yeah, I think the disclosure is based on the seller's knowledge, if I'm correct, isn't it, Stephanie?
Yep.
Yep, and a lot of things we find in a home inspection, the seller doesn't know.
Right.
I had no idea. It may have not been something that is a historical issue that was with the home when they purchased it. They may not have had an inspection. It may be something that is maintenance related, or, it's just something that has gone unseen. And those things can't be in a disclosure statement. And quite often people, the sellers, if they're at the inspection with me, they're surprised at what we find. And they're not trying to hide things necessarily. They just don't have that knowledge. And they'll look at you and go, I wondered what that was about. Why was it? I wondered for all these years, I wondered why that light switch didn't work. Well, that's because it's not wired in the basement somewhere. It's hanging. Those things that they aren't going to put in a disclosure statement are what we find. And most of the time it upsets them. They feel like they've let you down, or they feel that their house isn't up to standard. And they're usually more than willing to take care of the issues that we spot, at least the ones I've dealt with in person. I don't see what Stephanie sees behind the scenes when the seller is off scene. I don't see that conversation. But the ones we've been with, I had one the other day that we got on the roof, and literally around the chimney, the stovepipe, the shingles were burnt out 3 feet. I don't know how the house didn't burn down. I drove by there 2 days later. They were on the roof repairing the roof. They wouldn't sell the house until that was repaired. They just didn't know. So I always ask the buyer, if they're with me during the inspection, if anything was disclosed that they really want us to look at. I'm gonna look at everything, of course, but what are your concerns with the disclosure statement? What are your safety concerns in the home? And if those are provided, we go ahead and we look at those with the buyer and try to help them assess what needs to be done with those issues. But yeah, usually it's those hidden things that we find that the seller's not aware of.
And we usually say to a buyer, having the home inspection is the opportunity for you to learn how your home works. We're not looking for a reason to get out of a purchase agreement. GFCI outlets, yes, they may or may not be there, but that's not a reason to pull out of a purchase agreement. This is a great opportunity for a buyer to learn how their house works.
That's why I like to have the buyer with me when I inspect.
Absolutely.
And educate through that entire process. Now, I'm sure you've gotten this question as often as I have. You get to the end of the inspection and go, would you buy this house? I can't answer that question. I literally can't ask, but I do say that, if you mitigate the issues that are here, in your mind, can you see yourself living here for 20 to 30 years? Would this house satisfy your needs if you can mitigate the issues? That's where you need to make your judgment. I can't tell you whether I buy or not.
Can you bring that down to 5 to 7 years?
Okay, because you typically 7 years.
We don't want that.
A lot of the people I've been dealing with lately have been retirees that are looking for that retirement home.
The last house.
The last house. And the first homes, where I'm sure you're seeing this also, it's what's a septic field? I don't know what a septic tank is. I've never lived somewhere where I had a septic tank or a well. So that is something that we can disclose the age of the system. Any repairs have been done to the system, but there's a knowledge there that has to be acquired.
Mhm.
And, septic maintenance and, what is a well, when do we want to water test, all those things. Putting them at ease over those issues. It seems to be, especially with COVID, we have people that are coming from very urban areas, from the cities out. They've always been on municipal water supplies and septic.
Oh, yeah. We do have a large number of people relocating. And we always have people relocating. And
Right.
some of the buyers that we have are for jobs and some are because they can telecommute. But it's a unicorn that they're looking for. They want 10 acres of privacy, but it has to have natural gas heat and hardwired Spectrum internet.
Yes.
That's a unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a couple questions from Mickey here. First one is and I'll ask maybe I'll let you answer one before I go into the next. So you can waive an inspection if you have one prior to making an offer.
We are seeing that with some buyers now. If they have enough time, they're getting the inspection before they write the offer so that they don't have to have that as a contingency. If you have the time, that's good. It's also a financial risk because you're paying for something that you may or may not end up being the high bidder on, but it may make you feel more confident about your bid. Another option is it's always an option for sellers to have a home inspection prior to selling, and that may eliminate that inspection contingency as well.
That can be that's a really great point, because I think a lot of sellers don't think about it, but there's a lot of advantages to the seller and actually to the buyer too, to have that done. Rich, is that something you want to comment on?
Yeah, I think the seller's inspection gives you a tool where, in my mind, if I'm a seller and I have my home inspected, I had one done the other day, and it was for a seller selling to a family member. And the first words out of his mouth were, family members can be the worst to sell to, because they can always come back to you. They know where you live. So you want to make sure everything was buttoned up tight. What I see is I get to go through the home, give you a punch list as a seller of everything that needs to be done to the home. Now it's your choice to go through and say, hey, I'll repair X, Y, and Z, but some of these things we're not capable of, or we can work in negotiations with. But also, Stephanie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it shows good faith to a buyer that a seller has gone through and had the home inspected.
I think we lost Stephanie. She'll be back.
We lost Stephanie.
Yeah, I think she had a little bit of connection issues, but yeah, good points that it is something that a seller can use to kind of help to make the whole process go smoother. All right, so here's a couple questions here, same also from Mickey. You need to get an appraisal before buying a home. Can that be rolled into closing costs? And then can closing costs be rolled into a mortgage? I think these are great questions for you, Tony. You're still with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. My phone was on mute. With a purchase, the appraisal does go into the closing cost. Unfortunately, with a purchase, you can't roll that into the loan. On a refinance, you could roll that into your loan, but not on a purchase.
Okay. All right. So you have to budget for those closing costs or the.
Yeah, you would have to budget, or if Stephanie was on, you could ask for that in your deal. You can ask 3% concession charges from the seller, so to help pay for those type of charges.
Right, and that's something that we were speaking about in your session prior to this. That's a really interesting negotiation tactic that You said that you've seen that a couple times recently.
Yeah, I've just done a couple deals in the last couple months where they asked for 3% back on closing costs, and we got the deal done.
Yeah.
They might have offered more probably to help out on to make it more enticing for the seller possibly, but yeah, it's a good thing to ask for sometimes.
Right. Yeah. That even in this crazy market, I mean, it may not be the first thing that you want to do, but it sounds like it's actually actually a valid kind of technique. Okay, so here are a couple more questions that about realtors, and I'm going to see if Stephanie is able to get back on before I think asking those. In the meantime, I think maybe let's go in this direction. Let's throw this out. If you were talking to somebody who is maybe a first-time home buyer, what's the biggest piece of advice that you'd want to give them?
Just to make sure that they have been saving, they kind of have their finances in order. A good thing is to pull your credit. You can pull your credit once a year on precreditreport.com, I think. See what's on your credit report. Make sure there's no surprises out there, because once you get to your financial institution and we pull your credit, there's a lot of stuff people don't even know is on their credit report, and a phone call could clear that up, so.
Right.
So that's my biggest advice, is kind of have your ducks in a row, is make sure your credit report looks good, and you don't have stuff out there that you might not even shouldn't have on your credit report. So.
Right. And what are you looking for as a loan officer for kind of like your credit score? Where's sort of like the gray area? Where's the cutoff where you wouldn't actually work with somebody? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah, so that's what's nice at the credit union is they're kind of there's not a number really involved on your credit score. We kind of look at your credit report to make sure like medical collections and student loans, we don't really take that in consideration, what's dragging that credit score down. So we'll see if they're making payments on any type of loans or their credit cards and stuff. If they're derogatory on those items, then we might not want to lend to that type of person.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But a credit score is not a huge deal for us, unless we're going on the conventional product with the Freddie Mac. Usually 620 is the lowest credit score that we can use on those type of products.
620. Okay. So
yeah.
Yeah. So what are some things people can do if they're under that? Maybe they're at 600, right? Or 598 or something. What can they do to bump that up?
Yeah. So my best advice is to see what kind of collections you have on there. If there's little ones that might be $500 or $600, is to knock those off of there. Call those collections up. See if you can come up with a payment plan. It definitely jumps your credit score if you got a payment plan set up.
So you don't have to just take your situation and suffer through it. You can do proactive things to actually change that.
Yeah, from what I've seen is people that might have a lower credit score, they just think that they can't get out of it. They don't try to set up a payment plan or see what the collection agency might want or whatever. The best advice I got is to call them, see if you can set up a small payment plan. It'll show up on your credit report eventually, and that'll bring your credit score up definitely higher, or try to knock off some of the small ones that you might have some money saved in savings, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one more question here that just came in about credit score while we're on this topic, and then we're going to go back to the realtors questions. Does credit score play a major issue in interest rates on the different loans you offer?
if you have a higher credit score, definitely you're going to get a better interest rate. So if we have to move you into an in type of product, yeah, you're gonna have a risk-based type of credit score, but we kind of lock you in there so that you have a time period to get your credit fixed, so that we can refinance you and try to get you into a conventional product, so that you can take benefits of that lower credit score on a conventional item. So.
All right. So, but it is definitely a factor that you're looking at. Okay.
Yep. Credit score definitely makes a difference on your interest rate.
All right. Good to know. Another question about realtors, pros and cons of working with one. I think we went through a lot of the pros.
But I think you also have to understand you are hiring someone to do a job for you. So it needs to be a good relationship. And many of our contracts say that you can fire me. I just ask that you do it in writing. So you are hiring someone.
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it. I think a lot of people don't think of, realtors as somebody that they're actually hiring, but that is absolutely the case. And
Oh,
there's a lot that goes into
I
it.
crack up when agents come in and they say, I want to be my own boss. And I'm like, really? I have 30 some bosses. Everyone who's hired me as a seller or buyer is my boss.
Right. Right. And then another question, which I think we kind of spoke about in your session, Stephanie, but I think we can kind of talk about it again. And either of you, Tony and Rich, are welcome to pitch in as well. How do you choose a good realtor to work with for you?
I think you go on recommendations from other close friends and family, people you respect, lenders that you're working with, get their recommendations. And then I tell everyone, interview several agents. You don't have to just pick the person who answers the phone.
Yeah, that's so important because, so a person can look good on paper and maybe you just don't have that chemistry. You don't have that vibe together, that you maybe their picture might jump out at you, but then maybe something about their own personality or something just doesn't. Or you might find that a particular realtor has expertise in a certain area that's really important to you, because you guys are not all cookie cutter.
In no way. And maybe an agent has something that they're involved in that you are passionate about. There are agents that are very involved with different causes. And if you believe in those causes, that makes it potentially a really good fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know my assistant, my son is currently serving in the Air Force in Okinawa, Japan, and my assistant's husband is a state trooper, but he's currently deployed in the National Guard. So for us, those military heroes, first responders, those are people that we care passionately about. We're just really aware of that type of a lifestyle. So it's something that is important to us. There are other agents that are fantastic with horse properties if you're looking. And frankly, who can top Frida in her knowledge of UP history and what it is to be an outdoors woman? I joke that I'm a city girl. I don't do land because I don't know it. And right. Frida could walk a back 40 with a rucksack on her back and she'd be as happy as can be. So we do all have different specialties.
Absolutely. And, because a lot of them times they're going to be connected with your interest. You're going to understand the needs of those buyers, like, the first responders or veterans. You probably just understand where they're coming from and maybe can anticipate some of their needs and know the questions to ask that will help them find that best home for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I don't see any additional questions yet being asked. If you are on Facebook out there and have that little question in the back of your mind, there's no stupid question. So just type that into the chat and we will answer that just as thoroughly as we can.
I've got a last question. real quick. Ask Tony a question real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing I've looked at was we were talking earlier, Tony, about construction loans.
Yeah.
He alluded to the fact that a lot of people like to buy property with a garage. They don't all have garages. Can you finance a garage construction through you? Question number one, or a pole barn or what have you. And number two, if the buyer is construction savvy. For example, if I go out and buy a piece of property, I'm not hiring somebody to build a pole barn on my property. My father and I built 300 of them when I was a child, growing up through college. I know how to build a pole barn. Is that something I can tap into? Can I utilize my skills to build, utilizing a loan for construction?
So you can buy, so if we have land and it has a garage on it or a pole barn, we can use that as a vacant land property. We can fund it that way. If you're looking to build on your own, we have to use a licensed builder, which I've seen people do it on their own, that they were the lender plus the licensed builder. We try to defer from that, but we've done deals like that.
Okay.
In your instance, if you're wanting to build a garage or something, I would probably go on the consumer side and do like a personal type of loan and such to build it. Yeah. Instead of, yep. On the construction, our construction loan, you have to have a house. It has to be a residence for sure.
Okay. Just wondering.
Nope. Good question.
Yeah.
What are the unexpected costs, Tony, that people don't think of when they're thinking of building?
Oh, there's lots of them. So, a big thing is like when they're putting the basement in and excavating type of cost, the cost to hook up natural gas to your home. They think that's a free kind of service, since they're going to be paying monthly to have that, but actually you have to pay for that natural gas line to go from the roadside or wherever it was last put to your property. So yeah, those are probably the biggest costs that people don't realize when they get a construction estimate, because the home builder that's doing it usually doesn't include those type of costs in there. They just include the cost to build the house, put the footings in and such, but not to run the utilities and driveway and such. So, and landscaping.
Well, and we see it when people want to build and they get their base cost, and then all of a sudden, but I want these handles and I want this cabinet, and all of a sudden everything is an upcharge, and they're frustrated with that.
Yep, I've seen that too, Stephanie. So that's why you got to have a good builder that you really have a good construction plan, because I've seen construction plans that were like, oh, this cost for framing, this cost to put the block up, this cost to put the roof on, this cost to electrical and all that sorts, but they don't put in the cost of the detail work, like painting and handles to the cabinets and that type of stuff, flooring, that's stuff that they need to really put down on paper with their builder.
Excellent.
So some people are looking at modular building. Rich, do you want to explain the difference between modular and manufactured?
Yeah, the modular home is, there is a prefab aspect of modular where they build offsite, then they bring the components together, the rooms together, and they assemble them on site, on the foundation. Very few I've seen have been on slab, they've been mostly on foundation or basement. But it's not a manufactured home where they're bringing a home in one or two pieces. They're actually assembling the house in sections on site. It's quite different. And it's a stick-built home. I can't say quite conventional, but it is far more conventional than a manufactured home, with building standards being higher, in my opinion. But there's a prefabricated portion of the home that's brought in, they're crane lifted, they're set in place and attached, assembled together on the site. Structurally, a lot of the manufactured homes we see, or should I say all of them, are done by HUD spec, which means that they have their own snow loads, which may be 20 or 30 pounds per square foot, where our snow loads in Alger County, they're looking at 75 pounds per square foot. So a manufactured home isn't built to a higher standard, where a modular home is built to a stick-built standard. They have higher codes, much more substantial. Let's just put it that way. I don't know what you've seen, Stephanie, but the first modulars I saw, a lot of them resemble manufactured homes in their framing. Underneath, the metal framing underneath the home, the belly fabrics, what have you. And that's kind of gotten to the point where we still see them, but they're trying to make these modulars feel as stick built and, quality as they can. From my perspective, I really like the modular better than I do the manufacturers.
And manufactured, as a realtor, we can only sell a manufactured if it is affixed to land. We can't just sell them. The state views them more, if it has a title, it's more like a car. If you can still attach the wheels to it and drive it away, a realtor can't sell it.
And from our perspective, with HUD and lending, HUD requires that you have a foundation certification on a manufactured home foundation and any additions. And part of that certification is it has to be a first-time foundation, meaning that manufactured home has not been moved. This is the first location it's been, because they're worried about torquing when they lift that home up, moving off the foundation, haul it down the road. Now you're torquing that home as you travel. So they know that there could be issues that come along with that because of the type of construction. So it's got to be a first-time foundation. And also, go ahead.
We also have to have, in order for, most times for it to sell.
Uh-oh. She froze.
Legal fixture to the land.
Stephanie, you broke up a little bit there. You froze in the middle. Can you repeat what you just said?
We have to have an affidavit of a fixture, which is a legal discharge of the title to legally make sure it is affixed to the land.
Got it.
So that's something that sometimes comes up in the title work process that we have to deal with.
Okay, cool. There, I have a question here about manufactured homes. I know that the rural development loan will not approve a manufactured home. What about a modular home? Probably a good question for Tony. Or do you not?
I believe I believe that all of the lending programs are available for modular, just not manufactured.
Yeah, modular homes. We could do an in-house product, but yeah, for the conventional type, it would have to be a modular home.
Oh, so, but you do have in-house loans that you could arrange for manufactured, or a property with manufactured home, correct?
Yep, we do.
Okay, good to know.
So we would look at that situation and how it's affixed to the property and stuff, so.
Tony, you still have to have the affidavit of a fixture, right?
We don't for the in-house,
Oh, cool.
but we would just have to kind of take in consideration of the borrower and what type of property and how it is there. So we would ask for that the affidavit, but, yeah, we could do, I've seen some in-house deals where we've done it without it.
Good to know. Stephanie, I asked this of the guys earlier when you had the connection issue and dropped off. If you were just giving advice to, say, a first-time home buyer, what would be your biggest piece of advice if they're looking for a home?
Oh, geez. I think Frida said it when she said the location really matters. You know, you can make changes to the interior, but you have to really love the location.
Right. Okay. All right.
And one of the other pieces of advice that we give, especially to first-time home buyers, if you have other people that are going to help you make your decision, like your parents, let's put them on our drip system too and show them the houses you don't like, so that when you bring them to the house you do like, their response isn't negative.
Oh, interesting. Wow, that's a good trick.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times we've been at that showing where the couple is showing their parents, this is their dream house. And the parents say, oh, well, when we bought our house, we paid half this and we got more. They're so negative. But I think the parents have to see what the current market is if they're going to have an opinion on their kids' purchase.
Smart. Yeah. And oh, Mickey says, I'm making an appointment with Tony. Super excited. Awesome. So yeah, that's awesome. And I think that segues into something that I was going to ask about, like negotiation techniques. I know that, you know, there's a lot of them out there, and maybe that's something you might want to address. What would be, you know, I don't know, are there some little known ones that are you finding are working really well lately?
I think oftentimes with first-time home buyers, they're feeling really frustrated in this market because they don't have a big down payment. And if a seller has a choice between a conventional product and a rural development or an FHA product, which has more requirements in the appraisal, they're going to choose the conventional. So the products that Tony was talking about that we can say are conventional, those are going to be really huge negotiating pieces. So the biggest negotiating piece you can do is to have your ducks in a row before you even write an offer.
Okay, so having that pre-approval, having a plan, knowing
having a pre-approval, but if you can find a loan program that is conventional over rural development or FHA. And I know you talked with Tony about 3% down towards from sellers. What you have to understand is your offer then has to be 3% better than an equal offer. Right.
And that's just to help you get a lower down payment, pretty much. Yeah. So these Freddie Mac loans that you were talking about, they are considered, and this is in Tony's session earlier, they are considered conventional loans?
Yep, these are conventional, the Freddie Mac. Yep.
Beautiful, and just another plus for them. And those, in case you are watching and didn't catch Tony's, first of all, I really would recommend going and catching Tony's and also Stephanie's on real estate ethics. They are up on the Live the UP feed, but just for now, these are the Freddie Mac, what are they? Freddie Mac matchup program and construction loans. There's a home one and a home possible loan, and just fantastic opportunities that are just a little bit different, allowing for 3% down, which I think is phenomenal.
There's a whole lot of people that think you have to have 20% down to buy a house, and that is just simply not true.
Nope. Exactly.
Right. What are some other kind of conventional knowledge that really isn't that you can think of in the real estate industry? any aspect of the real estate industry, and this goes out to all three of you.
Well, I think just the whole commission issue. It has always been tradition that sellers paid a commission and sellers get to deduct that cost of paying the commission as part of their closing costs when it comes to tax time. Buyers, there are ways for a buyer to work in paying a commission, but for the most part, sellers have always paid the commission, and the commission they pay goes to their listing agent, and then that gets split between the listing agent company and the buyer agent company. And then usually there's some sort of split or some costs that are involved between the company and the agent. So from there, listing and buying agents, we are all independent contractors, so we pay 100% of our own time.
I think she's kind of freezing. Well, not freezing. We're losing your audio, Stephanie. I don't know if you can hear me.
I'm seeing that my internet's unstable, so I'm not sure what you heard.
Just rewind about half a minute, I think.
Just the commission structure itself, that's paid usually by the seller, getting split between the buyer company and seller company, and then split again between the company and the agent. And agents are independent contractors, so we pay all of our own expenses, all of our own taxes, insurance, health insurance, advertising. We pay all of that. So we're really, really working for you because we're not getting paid if you don't find a house.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a good point, Stephanie, because I've had buyers actually tell me that they know the price of the house is so high because they have to pay 6 or 7% to the seller's agent, and they're paying 6 or 7% to their agent. I'm like, no, it's all divided out of that pie that the seller's paying.
Yep.
Get rid of one agent, can't I save some money and move ahead? It's like, it doesn't work that way.
Well, and if you go to the listing agent and you buy the house through the listing agent, in most cases, the listing agent gets the whole commission. So it's not like the seller will make more.
Right, right. Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you hear, Rich, from buyers?
Oh my. Where does realtors go?
Sure.
Or okay. Trust is a big issue. And I don't think it's justified. Sometimes I've had the first 7 inspections I had this year were all sales that I was not one of the cards that was handed out. They chose me because I was not on the list, because they think the realtors are in cahoots with the home inspectors. I'm like, that's not a possibility. We have our code of ethics. You have your code of ethics. If I do something that's illegitimate, like you referred to earlier, I'm the one that gets sued, not you, not the seller. I get sued. That's why I have to have error of omission insurance. I have to have malpractice insurance. Mm-hmm. So I have to keep myself very independent, of what you're doing, what the sale process, and keep my opinions to myself. You keep your opinions to yourself, and it's very black and white. They seem to feel that that's one of the reasons we don't recommend contractors. We don't recommend painters. We don't want that stigma to evolve, that there could be some manipulation going on there. And that's why we're very silent. We ask permission to give the realtor inspection report so that the buyer is in full knowledge that the realtor is receiving a report, if they wanted to go that avenue or they want to supply it themselves. If that has become an issue 7 or 8 times this year, I'm not sure where it comes from. I wish they would listen to your code of ethics speech that you gave earlier. That hour would be very well spent for a lot of buyers. Let me just put it that way.
But I think a lot of times buyers agents aren't establishing that relationship.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because we have agents that refer us and we've had agents sit us down and go, we want our clients to get a good, fair, honest report. We want that. And I think most agents, if not all agents, want that. They want their buyer to have what they're looking for in a home, be fully aware of what they're buying, because we all realize that if we were in that position, we would want that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody be honest and upfront. And if I'm gonna run a good business, you made the example, 5 to 7 years, they're gonna be looking for a new home. If we're not honest and upright now, they're not gonna be our customer in the future. And we want them, number one, to have a safe, secure home, get what they're looking for, and come back to us so we can do that process and be part of their life, their purchasing process for the rest of their life. Not just a one-time thing. That's no fun for anybody. We want repeat customers that we enjoy seeing their faces every 5 to 7 years and be part of their life, part of their experience. We want to see how their family grew.
And that referral business.
Yes.
I mean, I'm only as good as my last transaction. If that person has decided that I've failed them, that's what they're going to share with the public.
Yep.
And so when I have someone who gives my name to their friend or family, that's the highest compliment we can receive.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think Tony can attest to that too, because Tony's been through the banking industry, and that's his is one of the names I give out, because I know we've worked with Tony. We've had good experiences with Tony. I'm not trying to plug Tony today. Of course, he's here. And we've had good experience with other lenders also. But we're going to give out the names of the people we've had good experiences with.
And,
Right.
and realistically, I always say when we're supposed to give out at least 3 names, but when I give out the names of lenders, I'm so blessed that I get to give local lenders, because I like to say, I can put my hands around their neck and squeeze. I can find them. They're not just some person at the other end of the computer who gets paid on how many loans they originate, not how many loans they close.
Right.
There's that, and there's also, I mean, it's regional. Anytime you have anything regional, there's regional quirks, of that region. And anybody who's doing business in this area understands what it is to do business in this area, to live in this area. Just anything from just the local desire for maybe a sauna or a specific type of land to the quirks in the home lending, right?
Well, we have the example that there's a very large banking institution that does a lot of VA loans,
Mhm.
and they were requiring on deals, and I have heard that some agents got them waived. I have never been able to, but they required their veteran buyer to make sure that they had to have a termite inspection. And in the UP, that is not an issue for us. And our local lenders, they don't require that.
Yeah,
Right.
just great example. Absolutely. Okay, so we've got just a few minutes here till the top of the hour, and so kind of the last call for questions for one, and also last call for you guys. Anything that you want to bring forward that you think is like super important for just home buyers and sellers in the UP to be aware of?
I think the number one thing I'd like home buyers and sellers to do is to start that process with an agent early. If you're a seller thinking I might sell in the fall, talk to agents now and we'll guide you how to get through the market to position yourself well. If you're thinking next year you want to start buying, talk to us now. We'd much rather be brought in at the very beginning than at the tail end of the whole experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing, because I've had many people, they've already have a house picked out and they're not even approved yet for the transaction. So yeah, definitely get your ducks in a row and find a good agent and find your lender before you start looking for houses.
Great. Yeah. And I think that's true of home sellers with the home inspection industry as well, because that could be a real way to kind of get yourself prepared to sell your house at a premium.
Yeah,
if you know what's
absolutely.
there.
I think for me, the one thing I would bring out is please read the report. A lot of buyers think that's just a formality. They have to have the inspection done. It's a formality. And for most situations, it's not required. But read the report. We do it for a reason, and share, talk about it with your realtor, because that's a negotiation tool. It's an education tool. We spend our time, we put videos and we do things to educate you through that report, and you have it for 10 years. It's online, so you can go back if you have questions, and we're always available to answer those questions later down the road. But we also see, because we're all tech savvy now, I can see whether that report's ever been opened or not. So I can tell you 40% of the time that report is not open. I'm kidding you not. It's not open. They think it's a formality. So we can make you so much more aware, if you allow us to help in the education process, whether it's a lender, a realtor, or an inspector. Let us help with the education process so you have a firm foundation to work with. Yeah.
And I think that goes for all of you and every, UP real estate professional. You guys are professionals, right? You really know this stuff inside and out, and take advantage of that, right? If you're a home buyer or a seller or whatever, ask those questions, or ask, even if you don't know what to ask, what should I be asking? Because you're going to find out stuff. And just as we've learned today, just listening to all this beautiful information from 5, and these are just 5 individuals. The UP real estate industry is much larger than that. What you can glean and what you can use to your advantage by tapping into these minds is amazing.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to you for putting this on. I know I'm going to have to run off and go to work, but we really do appreciate the opportunity to educate the consumer. And as you said before, this is all going to be available on your Facebook page. So we encourage people to share this with your friends and send this off to people that are going to be buying, because everybody has shared some fantastic information today.
Right. And I think what I'm also going to do is post this all up on YouTube. It'll be on the UP Home Inspection YouTube channel. And you can just Google that, and I will have all these up there. Also, for anybody who's registered, I'll be sending them the link that they can actually download this material as well, and have that for as long as you want to keep it. So, all right.
Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, all of you. It's been fantastic. And thank you to everybody who is watching, and everybody who's watching after the fact. It's lovely to have you. And one more thing, I just put all the contact information for the panelists today in the comments section. So if you want to reach out to anybody who's spoken, on the panel right now, it's in the comments of this particular video. There are 5 more videos in this Homebuyer Summit series. You can go and watch all of them. All that contact information to reach out to those individuals is going to be in the comments section, so you can find these people and reach out to them as needed. And one more just big thank you to Rich at UP Home Inspection for the sponsorship. And that is just to kind of give you a little plug. It's UP Home Inspection offers home inspection services as well as mold testing, radon testing, water testing throughout the central and western UP. So thanks again to all of you, and have a great night.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.